Well, thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, hi.
Behind the scenes with Santa
and
and
Mrs.
Claus.
Claus. Oh, and I think we've got a really fun episode today, don't we, Santa?
It's truly special. It was certainly a one-of-a-kind experience for us.
It was.
And I would say for most people out there,
Yeah.
they don't get an opportunity like we had. But, you know, and it's a wonderful thing. We met a fabulous gentleman, and I'm sorry to say he has passed since we met with him and did this. But, what a legend. And his name is Charlie Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sports broadcaster extraordinaire. I mean, the man had won an Emmy. The man is in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He basically started the AFL broadcasting with, you know, back then the Dallas team.
Yes.
And that was before the AFL and NFL got together. And he was very instrumental in getting those two put together. You know, and forming the entire NFL, the AFL and the NFL.
And he broadcast the first.
That's right, the first World Championship, which we now call Superbowl
Super
One.
Bowl One, yeah.
Yeah, he did the very first Super Bowl ever,
which is quite notable. And then he did many Olympic games all across the world. He just was
college bowl games. Oh my God, he did
Yeah.
for like 25 different teams.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
just
yes.
amazing, and even well beyond the Olympics. I mean, he covered golf and he covered all kinds of sports. Too many to even name. I mean, we could probably spend a good half hour just
talking about his
Charlie.
biography. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So he was.
If you get the chance, you should Google him because it's a fascinating story. But anyway, how we came to know Charlie and became friends with him is after he had retired from sportscasting, he decided to start writing books. And one of the books that he really wanted to do, and was one of his pet projects, was he wanted to do a book on the Santa Clauses and the Mrs. Clauses.
Yes.
So, and actually he did do that, and this is the book. It's called Christmas Memories of Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus.
Yes.
And he contacted me because I was working with an organization and I was their marketing arm. And he said, can you put me in touch with some of the Santas so I can get their stories?
Right.
And he did. He just wrote a whole bunch of stories.
A compilation of different stories.
From different Santas.
Yeah, and kind of like what we're doing right now, which is
pretty much
behind
like
the scenes. So we're recounting and relaying the memories that we have. And that's exactly what he did in his book, just in print from a variety of Santas.
And it's still available on Amazon.
It is.
And I would invite anybody that might be interested in seeing some really heartwarming stories to go on Amazon and get this book because it's really good. And oh, by the way, there's a picture of Charlie.
Yeah, there's the man himself.
In his Santa in my hat that he stole.
Yeah.
But anyway, after he compiled the book, and we worked together to get that done, and once he had that finished, he said, now I'm doing programs with Wealth TV at the time.
Yes.
And he said, I want to do a similar program, a TV program, about Christmas memories with Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus.
That's right.
And I'd like you two to join me on that.
Yes.
Now, you and I had not been on TV before.
No.
Not to that extent.
Totally new to us. And he also invited another Santa and Mrs. Claus. So there was two couples.
Yes.
And Charlie.
Sharing their experiences.
Yep. And we all went down to La Jolla, which is just outside of San Diego, where the studio was.
Yes.
And went in, and I think we all thought that there was going to be some kind of prompts or was something to tell us what to do and what to say and how to do it.
An outline or, some... anything to
help us. And the other thing we should say...
Rehearsals?
Yeah. This was not just a little shot. It wasn't 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
This was not your typical interview kind of thing. This was actually a program, and you're going to see an excerpt of that.
Yes.
Mary was able to separate an excerpt so that we can show you.
Yes.
And you're going to see just how long ago this was.
Yeah, that's true.
My mustache and beard were much darker. I won't even talk about how the darkness of her hair.
Well,
and what
you'll
color
see
it was.
A significant change, and let me just again reassure you that it really is me.
It really is us, yeah.
Yeah, it really is me.
Yeah,
and
just a few years have passed, that's all.
Yes, just a few. But, so we got down, we all brought our costumes down, changed. We
had never even heard of a green room before and never knew what it was until
we got
Charlie
there.
says, okay, you're going to the green room, and we were looking for a green
room, yes, which didn't exist. No, it was just kind of a nice waiting room with table and chairs and things.
Drinks and
and so we got changed and
did our makeup
and then we all, the four of us, kind of sat there, I think, still with dough in the headlights looks, because I think we still were all like, well, how soon is he going to come in and
give
tell
us something for us to
what to do,
look at,
how to do, I mean, we just kind of...
Instead, somebody came in and said, okay, follow me, and the four of us filed out of the two rooms, and we went into the studio. And big, beautiful table with milk and cookies on it, and decorations.
There's a tree in the background, and what fireplaces, and it was a beautiful set. It really, really was. And so we had one couple on one side, one on the other, and then of course Charlie in the middle.
Right.
And I know for myself, when I sat down, I immediately started looking, where's the teleprompters? Or I saw the cameraman.
Where are we going to read cue
cards? I didn't see any cards. So it's like, well, I don't see anything to help us, and just really terrified. But I think we have to go back to Charlie and say what he was just the nicest, most gentle person, and had just he was just a calm,
good demeanor.
Yeah, just a calm kind of a guy. And
of course a consummate professional. I mean, he had been doing this for years and years and years, and
so
every venue possible.
Yeah, he wasn't at all, upset or.
Yeah, he just turned to us and says, "Okay, are we ready?"
And we're like,
"No, ready for what?"
And I think one of the things that he did, which it's kind of hard to describe, but he did have that calming influence, and he talked to us a little bit, and he kind of just settled us down.
Yep.
And it became like Charlie inviting us to his home
in his
and
living
just
room.
sharing Christmas memories, which is really what the program was about. And I think that he managed somehow, some way, to make us think that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because watching the show, in fact, we dug out the DVD not too long ago to watch, and amazed that all four of us went through it the way we did.
We all looked rehearsed.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, we did
Which
not
was not
have
true,
any.
No. No, and the other couple hadn't been on TV either. So that was kind of for the four of us. That was the blind leading the blind. So we didn't.
And especially this, as Mary's mentioned, it was an actual TV program. This wasn't an interview kind of thing where you're answering questions. I mean, yes, Charlie led the discussion.
Yes,
but it was basically, okay, tell us your. Well, you're going to see the excerpt or hear the excerpt
of one of our stories.
One of the parts of this.
But the whole DVD, and that was excluding some of the advertisements, of course. But it was 40 minutes of the four of us and Charlie
just
talking. So that was a long.
It was a long program, and from what I understand, it was pretty darn successful on Wealth TV, and we thank Wealth TV for actually letting Charlie do that and put that show on. So, but boy, I'll tell you. Well, that's enough talking about. What we should do? We should show the excerpt.
Yes.
And then I'll tell you a personal story about Charlie when we get back.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break and let you see us many moons ago.
Yeah.
Now, tell us together. You have a story that you were involved in. Share that with us.
Yes, we do. We actually gave away an hour of our time for the local high school, and the mom who won asked us if we would go to her son's 5th grade classroom because he maybe wasn't believing in Santa anymore. And so Santa and Mrs. Claus went, and as you might believe that the kids were a little bit at the age where they didn't
Basically, the first
believe.
thing I asked is, okay, let's get it out on the table now. Who doesn't believe? Well, almost everybody raised their hand because they were, 5th graders. They were cool.
Yeah.
So, and I said, okay, let's talk about this. What is it you don't believe? Where are you having a problem? So we spent about the next 45 minutes talking to that
Q&A.
class, answering questions, and it was great. One kid finally says, okay, well, let me ask you a question. Last year, when you came, you left my bike
On the roof.
on the roof by the chimney. And I said, it's his. I said, yeah, we were running a little late, and I had to get down, and I got the bag down, and I delivered all your gifts under the tree, right? I said, but when I got back up, I forgot I had left the bike up there, and I took off. And then he asked.
Well, then he said, well, and then it had a dent in it. And I said, oh, Santa, I said, that's right. I said, one of our elves, Ian Crosswire, I said, he went and we test all the toys. And I said, he took that toy up the mountain, and I said, he thought it was a dirt bike.
And I turned to him and I said, and that wasn't a mountain bike, was it? And the little boy sits there and shakes his head no, and I'm going, thank you. and then the boy was just like.
Anyway, we kind of turned it around, and so he was so excited because now he had a bike that was ridden by one of the elves.
And put a
so
dent in it.
With that story, I think the ones that maybe sort of didn't believe were turned around. So before we left.
And then at the end, I said, okay, now, how many of you don't believe? I got one hand. one hand
Yeah.
the rest of the class, and I thought, you know what? I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gone.
I think that was our toughest crowd because
Absolutely.
they were firing questions, but that was pretty satisfying at the end. So
The tough crowds have to be the most fun, though. But
Welcome back. Well, we hope you enjoyed that.
Oh, wow, boy, I'll tell you. And, you know, I must say, that book that Charlie wrote, there's many, many, many stories just like that
Yes.
in that book, and it's really a fun thing. And you get to hear from Santas all over the country, which is really cool too, and some of their experiences. And of course, that's just the tip of the iceberg of any Santa.
Oh, sure, sure.
has-
Just
has some wonderful
couple of
stories.
Yeah.
But
Well, we're doing a whole podcast on it. So
well, yeah, we're doing.
there you go.
And hopefully you keep coming back
Yeah.
to see more. Well, anyway, as I promised, here is a person. I'll tell you, after we finished that program and everything was kind of done and in the can, so to speak, the producers asked Charlie to do a 30-second
Commercial.
TV commercial
Yes, yes,
for one of their clients.
yes.
So they handed Charlie the script, which not really a script, it was just key points that he was supposed to mention.
Yeah,
And he looked it over for a few seconds
yeah. It did not
and
long.
said,
Not
okay, fine.
Yep.
And they said, are you ready? And he said, yep. So they filmed it, and he did it in one take and dead on 30 seconds, which
Yes.
is exactly
Yeah,
what
it
they
was
wanted.
just-
I mean, to the millisecond.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
one time, and he was done,
Yeah.
and he covered every key point that was on
Yeah.
that sheet. And just, I mean,
Yeah.
the man was amazing.
Well, then he just turned and started, continued the conversation with us. We had stopped our own filming, but we were
Yeah,
not both,
and then
we
just-
were all of us talking a little bit.
Yeah.
And he just
Just picked
continued
up again,
and,
and yeah.
continued to talk where he left off. So yeah, that was
I mean,
absolutely
the man was an amazement. I mean, truly. And again, if you get a chance to look him up, he had quite the life and did an awful lot of things. But that was our first true, and I think our
Actually,
only TV program where we were actually featured on a TV program. I mean, we'd been in other things, and,
right,
yeah.
but that from going into and I guess until we had our own.
Well, no, we were extras in a couple of movies and
Yeah,
that kind of
but
thing. But as
until
far
we
as
had our own
until
program.
we had our own program
TV
on
program
Mountain
and
Fun
Mountain
Life.
Fun Life. But that was,
Yeah.
again, that was a good number of years ago. But it was,
As you can see, looking at us.
and it is true. Sometimes these people come into your life, and we were so blessed to meet him because he really was a wonderful man. And just shared his time and how lovely for him to invite us to do that show.
Yes.
That was a real treat for
And
us.
for me to work with him on that book. I
Yes,
mean, he
yes.
even acknowledged me in the book, which thank you, Charlie. God bless you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just made a very proud moment in both our lives.
It was, yeah.
So,
yeah.
but anyway, so there's our TV program story, our
Yes.
first one.
Yes.
So again, we'll talk about more later, but we hope you enjoyed that.
One thing though that just came to mind just before we turn off real quick.
Yeah.
When we met him, he refers to Santa Claus as Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus.
Yes.
And we had not heard that before.
We had not heard the Santa Claus
Santa side of it
until much later.
much later when we moved to Tennessee.
Yes.
And then a lot of people would call us, oh, here comes Santa and Mrs. Claus. So kind of a little fun aside that's...
Well, look where he came
Yes,
from. I mean, he was originally from Oh my God, we're
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Fort Smith.
Yeah, Fort Smith.
Fort Smith,
Fort
Arkansas.
Smith, Arkansas.
So
So-
that part of it really came through, and that I just wanted to point that out because that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was the first time we heard that, and what a wonderful memory again of Charlie.
We have a lot of them actually.
We do. But
well, and I
yeah.
hope this gives you a fun memory. So, and let us know if you have any questions or comments
please
about
do.
either Charlie or the program or
Yeah.
where you might find it. Will be a hard one. I don't know if Wealth TV is even.
well, anyway,
broadcasting
yeah.
anymore, but,
I
yeah.
don't know what's going on with them, but remember we do our podcast on the 10th and the 24th of each
Yes.
month.
Yes.
So we certainly invite you to watch any prior ones that we may have done if you're new to joining us this time. But thank you so much.
And we look forward to seeing you or hearing from
Yeah.
you and giving you some more behind the scenes looks at Santa and Mrs. Claus. So thanks for joining us.
Until
Bye-bye.
next time, bye.